Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cyber Voices, the official podcast of the Australian Information Security Association, otherwise known as AISA. I'm your host, as always, David Willett, and it is my pleasure to have you with us as we explore the diverse voices of the Australian cyber industry. So, welcome back to Cyber Voices backstage at CyberCon. Now, I am very, very lucky today because I am joined by the fabulous Paula Januszkiewicz. Did I get it right?
You got it perfect. Thank you.
Oh my God. So everyone, just as we were before recording, we had a bit of a rehearsal just to make sure that I didn't butcher the wonderful Paula's surname with my very Australian accent, and I got it right. I'm so happy.
You did great.
So look, a true powerhouse in the cyber industry, if I can say so. Now, Paula, you are the founder and CEO of CQURE and the CQURE Academy. Now, you established these companies back in 2008, and I've got a bit of a script here on all of your achievements because there are many, and I'm going to embarrass you a little bit with them. So, Over 19 years' experience in cybersecurity, you are a globally sought-after expert who has performed everything from pen testing to architecture consulting, training, and seminars. You an enterprise security MVP, a Microsoft regional director, an accomplished keynote speaker at major conferences like RSA, Black Hat, Microsoft Ignite, and CyberCon. Hello. Where I saw as well, you've been repeatedly recognized as the top-rated presenter. And beyond your impressive technical expertise, you have dedicated yourself, I'm telling you all of this like good. You don't know it. Designing cutting-edge security awareness programs and tools to empower organizations worldwide, a member of the technical advisory board at NatWest Group, and even access to the Microsoft source code for Windows. Look out. I'll close my little Windows laptop that I have sitting here. Paula, your groundbreaking work is unique. Your insights and dynamic presence make you a true leader, and I'm a little starstruck to have you in the studio with me, if I can say so.
Thank you so much for your hospitality.
Yeah. I think hopefully that's not the end of the podcast for me reading out all of that. Paula, hello.
Hello. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. How has your trip to Canberra been? How are you enjoying CyberCon?
Absolutely. It's fantastic. And I love the community over here. And I really love how open people are about their cybersecurity adventures. And they are super happy to share their experiences. And everybody has a different story. And the cybersecurity is such a challenging subject that is very custom for every company and for every organization and so on. So when someone shares something, everybody can totally benefit from it, and just simply do not do someone else's or their own mistake, but just learn from someone else's. Incredible.
And you're no stranger to Australia. Like you said, you love the cyber community.
It's not my first time, definitely.
No,
I've been to Australia like so many times, and every single time I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just saying that thing one day that the moment where you do the touchdown with the airplane in Australia, you kind of feel that you landed in a very safe place.
Oh.
And it's just a comfort that I have. I don't know where it comes from, but it's kind of like you land and you're like, oh, this is such a nice place. And, interactions with people just confirm that.
And Australia loves having you here. So I guess that must be a part of it, right? Well, I remember my first exposure to who you are and your fame within the cyber industry. It was like you were a little bit of a rock star. So I think it was a CyberCon many years ago.
2019 was the first one.
It was definitely the 2019 because that was my first one too, actually. And my first exposure to ASA and everything like that. And I was there. That was my first year I wasn't a CISO at that point, but I was like a head of information security. And I'd just been given the role. I went to my first CyberCon, and a member of my team came running up to me and showed me a selfie that he'd taken with you, and he was so excited. And at that point, I didn't know who you were. But I can remember, he was just like, no. Like Paula is you need to go look her up and go to a talk. She is so well known within the industry. So it seems that welcoming atmosphere you get in Australia is just because you're you're an incredible human being to start with,
Thank
but
you.
you've done so much work for our industry, and we love hearing whatever you're going to bring to us next.
Yeah, so like I really like to bring the value, however generic that sounds, but there are so many different things that are happening in cybersecurity. So sharing some examples, scenarios, and so on, it's always a pleasure. And supporting different organizations and different processes is also a very good experience for me, because I can see that maybe here and there a little bit, I do have some little influence on the cybersecurity posture of different organizations. So when this is converted to something that is really productive at the end, that's very satisfying. And this is really what it's all about. Yeah. So we need to benefit from each other's experiences. And as long as, of course, there is someone bringing openly that experience, that's great.
Incredible. And you're bringing some of your unique brand of thought leadership to CyberCon Canberra today. Now, as of the time of recording, everyone, we are about 2 hours out from Paula's closing keynote for the conference, but I get a little sneak peek.
Yeah.
So what have you come to talk to us about today? What is it you really want to get across to our audience when you close out the conference?
Right. So this time is going to be about the threat hunting. So
Okay.
it sounds pretty straightforward, but there are, of course, many stories around that. And I'm going to be talking about various incidents that I've been actually managing at the customer sites. And these stories sometimes are drastic, sometimes they are actually quite funny. But at the end, there's always a lesson learned. And the keynote is about conclusions. So this is really to kind of have this little outlook in 2025, like how we should be focusing on cybersecurity, because, AI has been right now everywhere. But is it really that we should be overusing this AI term? And I'm saying overusing on purpose here, because AI is literally everywhere. But at the same time, AI, while it's using cybersecurity underneath of the various solutions. So we just have solutions at the end. And that's something that allows us to correlate different events, logs, information, and so on. And that's something that can really boost the good performance of cybersecurity in the organizations. So my kind of goal for the keynote is to present through different scenarios why we should be processing information that we just have anyway, but we're just maybe not collecting it. Maybe we're not connecting the dots. And that's something that's going to bring us the hopefully complete picture about how the current infrastructure status looks like. And that's amazing, because I'm one of these that likes to know, in general. And I'll push it hard for knowing. And if I don't know something, that's just very, very short status over there, because I'm immediately getting into the stage of knowing.
Yeah.
So in cybersecurity, this is such an important thing and such an important movement, I would say, that we need to know. And for so many years, we've been dealing with infrastructures where we were really not collecting information. Like, people are not able sometimes during the incident to answer the question, what happened? Did it spread? And so on. And that's disturbing, because infrastructure is like your home. You should be trusting it in some sense.
Yes. A very refreshing take. Something you said just then, which really stood out to me, was if I don't know it, it won't be long until I do. But I think our listeners working in cyber in Australia, or wherever you're listening from, can take that to heart a little bit, because I think sometimes there's a pressure, especially if you're a leader in cybersecurity, to know everything to just be on the end. You need to be on the front foot with everything and absorbing all the news and all the podcasts and all that kind of stuff, so that when your boss asks you about it, you've got all that information. But it's actually also okay to not know everything, because new stuff happens every day.
And thank you so much for saying that. That is literally what I wanted to add, but you said it all.
That's okay. Out of your mouth. There you go.
Because, of course, there's a huge pressure so that you'll be informed about every single thing that's happening. And you rather should be, because that's really our job, to be informed, to process the new stuff and be a little bit deeper in the new stuff already when it happens. And it's a big challenge, because you literally have to update yourself every day. But I'm always saying one thing over here, that I really prize the existence of the team. Because if you are, let's say, in travel and you've got a flight that lasts 12 hours, and there's so many things that can happen in these 12 hours. There's a big incident, and or like something really horrible in the news, and you want to know, and then you land and you're like, oh, what's that? And when you land, the team usually sends you the draft report that, we looked into it, we analyze it, you don't have to do it. And when I've got time, I'm doing the same thing. Like, hey, have a look. There's a little research that I did. Like, you don't have to do it anymore. But it's all about the understanding. And the problem is that understanding always takes you time. But sometimes when the information is given on the plate, you're like, oh, okay, I can process it very quickly. So these are the conclusions. The details you can just imagine because you are in this industry, not, just for just one day, but for so many years. So things start to be smooth and easy, but only if you get a good team.
Of course. Yes. And I think many of us have probably been in that experience where we've jumped off a long flight only to find out some kind of disaster or meltdown has happened, and you get a ding, 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 ding as soon as you get your service back. Now, you talked a bit then about some of the, the trends that are happening. AI, of course, sounds like you've got a bit of a grounding message when it comes to AI. And there's a lot of incredible opportunities on the horizon in the coming year, but also a lot of new vulnerabilities as well. What do you see as some of the most significant risks that are emerging this year? And what are you urging organizations and people that you work with to prioritize as we come into the year?
That's a very good question. Yeah, there we go. I think that what we have right now, it's the state where we think about cybersecurity as a priority, or I hope it's actually like that, but let's say it is like that for a vast majority of the organizations. And then one of the things that I am prioritizing over here is to review the cost.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because cybersecurity got very expensive.
Oh, yeah. Don't I know it?
Right. So like you've got many things that you have to pay for, training for end users, also securing your systems, different pen tests. Eventually you will figure out that you want to do the new equipment, shopping and whatever. We all know the drill. So the question is the price that we are paying for the current cybersecurity status that we got addressing really the issues that we got in the infrastructure? So what I'm kind of urging here is let's try to find the balance, because this is very easy to be it's very easy to make it to be overpaid. And at the end, we still got some vulnerabilities. We still got some misconfigurations. So like what's going on? And we've got some customers that, for example, are quite advanced in what they do, but then you get into their infrastructure and then you are like, really? Like this kind of a misconfiguration? Like why it's there? This allowed me, for example, to become a domain admin, and that, just like that from the street level, and why that wasn't really discovered. Or another customer that we got was actually a bank, and that bank had multiple solutions implemented. But the problem was that the admins or security team, they were not trained to use the dashboard of the solution that was presenting them alerts. So simply they were not using it. And it sounds really simple.
You're actually I've seen it actually happen, but sorry, go on. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when I was doing the pen test, literally over that, I was like, why nobody's coming? Because they were supposed to come and tell me when they're going to see things and so on. I wanted to be stealth, because sometimes we play this game that for the first couple of days, we try to be stealth and we see what's the SOC capability. And when they discover it, okay, let's just make it open cards. And they were just not coming. And I was like, yeah, let's be like super noisy right now. Like, I don't care. Let's be noisy. And they still didn't come. And I was like, hey guys, like what's wrong? And they were like, oh, so there is this dashboard over there that we were supposed to look at. And I was like, what? They spent so much money on it and they were not trained. So question is, are we prioritizing, leveraging, using all the features of the things that we are paying for? Because yes, it's expensive. And I think it just crosses the line, and we should start rethink what are the solutions that we actually have and maximize their potential.
Yeah, and I think we've seen almost like a bit of a bell curve in cybersecurity spending probably since the pandemic, right? There was a lot of, I know in industries I was working in, there was a lot of, we don't want the risk. There were some of the big incidents that happened here in Australia. And some of us got money thrown at us to, reduce the risk as much as possible. But I wound up in that exact situation where I had tools upon tools, which was and dashboards upon dashboards, which we just didn't have the capacity to be looking at all of them each day. I went to recently, I remember going to a bit of a lunch to look at a new product that was entering the market. I think I was really blunt and I said, look, why do I need this? Why do I need one more tool right now? Like, those security leaders in this country right now, we're getting a lot of pushback on our budgets and we're having to be a lot smarter with what we're investing in, right? Like, really justify to me why I need to go in front of my executive or my board one more time and say, oh, that last thing we already said we needed all this money for to solve all the doom and gloom. Guess what? There's now another.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have to get a lot smarter.
And is it a good spending? Yeah, because sometimes it's just a solution that someone picks, but then yet again, all the interesting features that are there aren't really leveraged because the capacity isn't addressing it properly. Also, we rarely see, by the way, the cybersecurity executive education being in place. So people that are actually taking decision about money spending on cybersecurity solutions, then they are not aware of what kind of stuff they actually do. And that's is also quite something that I think should be fixed. So that, executive that says yes, she or he actually knows that, okay, that's what we are actually buying over there because this totally saves my business and addresses the different risks that I could have possibly so that my business will not function in a way I want it to be. And I know what I'm doing right now. But we rarely see this kind of situation.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned before that threat hunting is a big part of your keynote. So threat actors exploiting vulnerabilities now with greater precision. Can you share some of the examples some of the latest techniques that you're coming across and why this big focus on threat hunting?
Yeah. So examples from the good perspective is that you've got, of course, AI underneath of the different solutions that allows you to correlate data. And whether we are talking about the Defender, for example, Sentinel, or the Copilot for security and so on, then you've got the possibility to ask question that is more relying on your knowledge and your imagination versus actually asking for appropriate fields in the logs, which has been always annoying. Yeah, like why should I even know what's the name of the column in this log that I want? Yeah, no, I want that to be interpreted, and I want to ask the question: correlate me the log on events within a certain period of time of the 4064 log on type 3 from across these workstations within this location, and show me all the processes that were connecting to the network at the time, and show me only those who are not digitally signed.
Yeah.
So that sounds like something concrete that you want because it comes from your knowledge. But, to build a query within the old-fashioned, let's put it this way, solutions, it's a challenge, because you have to correlate massive amount of data. But right now, you can ask that question. Of course, it sounds very beautiful. It's not that ideal, like I'm saying right now, but it's getting close to it. And so, for example, with the Copilot, you've got a possibility to ask these kind of questions. And it's a little expensive, but at the same time, depending on the size of the organization and your cybersecurity procedures and so on, that is a really good tool that is just an extension of our brain that would allow us to pull out information about what's going on in the infrastructure. Like that's what we all want. So I think it's really the direction that the world is moving into. And that's just good perspective on the threat hunting right now.
And for someone like myself, who is a CISO in my day job, I've been looking at these, as you say, the AI operating underneath the solution. And when they're being presented to me, I'm kind of pushing to be like, well, can I get quick answers out of this as well? Because you mentioned the queries there, and I had to have a little giggle to myself because I thought of the amount of times I've asked a SOC analyst or something like that to be like, can you help me? I need this stat or this information or whatever it might be out of Splunk or Sentinel. and you can kind of see the size, of just us that they're going to have to go and figure out how to write the query to get the information and make sure it's accurate as well.
Ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You can always do that, yeah? And it's going to give you a relatively relevant query.
Mm-hmm.
That's in most of the cases it works.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, you can. I mean, you can do it to do an Excel formula. You can do it to write a Splunk query too, I guess.
But aren't we getting into time where we don't have to invent things anymore, but rather just know who we're gonna ask to do the things? Yeah, it's a kind of this, because we are here used to the situation that we have to figure things out. We have to do it. If you don't do it, it's not done. And this is the vibe we live in. Yeah. But right now, you are like, please do that for me. And then you just say it, and then it's kind of done. But it's nice. Of course, that can go wrong way if we're going to trust certain solutions too much.
Of course.
But there's always a wrong way.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're sort of suggesting in terms of, threat hunting, you're focusing a little bit more on the positives of how the technology is evolving in a way that is going to make threat hunting more easier for us, or more effective for us, or more efficient. Is that right?
That is very right.
Yeah.
With one little comment to add to that.
Yeah.
We need to know what kind of information we want. And sorry, in this case, no excuse. We have to have knowledge first and then say what we want. Yeah. Okay. And of course, we can have some solution that's going to present to us different queries that are pre-written and so on. But come on, every infrastructure is different. So eventually we have to adjust our knowledge into the conditions that we work with. Yeah. And that's kind of my point.
Yes. And I think all of us should be checking ourselves on our use of AI and reliance on AI at the moment, because it does I was really resistant at first, but geez, it helps. God, it has sped things up in so many different ways. But, I think there is the risk that people become too reliant on it as well, right? Both in security and in their day-to-day jobs as well.
That sounds like you're going to have eventually your own avatar doing the job, and you're going to be just instructing that avatar what to do, and you're going to be relying on a coach. Isn't it that direction?
As a huge sci-fi buff, as I always say on this podcast, I can see it happening. Your presentation this afternoon, I understand from reading your summary that you're going to be doing a little bit of a live demo.
I am doing only live demos.
You're doing only live demos, so
unless they fail.
So it's not like doing
then I have a backup.
Literally every vendor that's tried to do a live demo to me before, but one of I'm reading here that your presentation includes a demo of how hackers exploit vendor-controlled systems. Tell us a little bit about that, and what makes these systems particularly vulnerable, and what's your message in securing them effectively?
Oh, well, a little broad picture, I would say, but it's a matter of misconfiguration.
Of course.
And that's kind of what I'm pushing towards, that one of the biggest vulnerabilities to me is actually misconfiguration, because you can find, some flaws that things are not up to date. You can be dealing with 0 days, obviously, and so on. But, these are the things that are to be fixed in place, while misconfiguration is more like something constant, and it's there, and it has always been there, and that this is how it's always working in this infrastructure and so on. So at the end, this is kind of the direction that I'm moving into, that we should think on the regular basis, what kind of systems we got. Just don't sit down and accept what you got, and then you're going to come back in 2 years, and then everything's going to be in a big mess, because things change and configurations, they become vulnerable eventually, but nobody will tell you hey, because you didn't select this checkbox, then, things are still secure, or they are insecure. Depends on the status.
Doesn't change the world, yeah.
Exactly. So nobody's going to come to you and tell you oh, this checkbook must be selected. But we have to kind of control that, because the variety of systems that we got in the infrastructure is so huge that, not everything is Windows, not everything is whatever that's going to just be updated automatically, and things just become misconfigured. And that's kind of my point here.
Yeah, I mean, how often have we all kind of come across that situation where we're like, hang on, no, this shouldn't happen. We've I've heard people say, oh, no, we fixed this or we reconfigured this 5 years ago. And I'm like, well, that was 5 years ago. Like, you've never checked if it changed. And actually, sometimes it's not even reasonable to ask that, right? Because configurations can change with a patch or an update. And it's almost too much to expect that the administrators of the systems or the security team can keep on top of all those patch notes to know that a tick box, as you said, was maybe unticked.
Yeah. And sometimes it's literally that. Yeah. And actually on the keynote today, I will have 3 demos that are about the checkbox. And eventually, of course, eventually it's a checkbox because something is selected or unselected.
Yep.
Literally that one checkbox. And because of that, you manage to do things or you don't.
Yep. Exactly. I mean, I see it with, we track the Microsoft Secure score as one of our measures of, where can we be doing better within our Microsoft stack. And I've literally seen a checkbox get you like 2 or 3% on your score, right? But what does that even mean?
What does that exactly even mean? But yeah, it's sometimes truly a checkbox. And some of the vulnerabilities, like the ones that I will also discuss today, it's like you select the checkbox, you're good. You don't, you just become a domain admin.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. Yeah. So that's really scary. Huh?
Yeah. And far too easy to do.
Far too easy. Yeah.
So I guess sort of to wrap things up, because I do need to maybe give you some time to go and prepare for your keynote.
Oh, no worries. Yeah.
What are some of the exciting things that you're looking forward to in 2025? What are some of the things that you've got on the horizon that, that we can be excited about as well?
Nice question. I think I'm expecting cybersecurity to gain even better momentum, but also a bit of a more humanic face on it. That, it sounds very scary. Cybersecurity, it's scary subjects, attackers are there, threats are there, and so on. But, like we kind of sometimes artificially generate fear because it's all about systems, networks, securing it. Thank you so much. Making sure that things are up to date and controlling what's going on and making sure that our people around us are educated in cybersecurity. So if I could describe it in a couple of words, that would be it. Yeah. So we shouldn't really over exaggerate that. Oh my God, there's like so many things that are happening in cybersecurity, but we should rather take like a little distance or have a little distance to it and think about cybersecurity as one of the challenges, one of the boxes that you have to kind of complete and kind of like this. So it's a part of the business resilience and it must be treated like that. Not every organization treats it like that. And everything that speaks through it must be there as a little box that we have, like box with the infrastructure, box with the security awareness and so on. And then we just need to maintain its boxes and that's it. Like we normally maintain, the salary to be paid at the end of the month. Like we maintain our garden. So it's the same thing.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we've given everyone maybe just a little bit of a taste of what you'll be doing in your keynote. And your keynotes are always spectacular. So to our listeners who did not have the pleasure of joining us here at Canberra CyberCon and you would like to see one of Paula's keynotes, well, hey, you might just have to come along to the next CyberCon event that we get her at.
Always pleasure.
So again, thank you for blessing us with your presence here and your amazing knowledge and thought leadership. And also thank you for sharing your voice with us today.
Thank you, David. And thank you guys for listening as well.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Cyber Voices. Our music is by Sanar Garut, our show artwork is by Studio Quarantine, and we record our show at This Is a Studio in Pran, Melbourne, part of Popplant Productions. Please make sure you follow the show on your podcast platform of choice and leave us a 5-star review. This will help others find the show. Also, please follow the association on LinkedIn and Instagram. If you want to add your voice to our ever-growing chorus of diverse cyber voices, have questions, feedback, or would like to be a sponsor, you can do so by emailing us at cybervoices@aisa.org.au. That's cybervoices@aisa.org.au. Are you an ASA member? If not, you should consider joining our network of over 12,000 members across Australia. An ASA membership can open doors, build professional networks, create lifetime friendships, and offer exclusive training, events, and other perks. Become a member today by heading to our website at asa.org.au. That is all for today. I hope you will join us again next time on Cyber Voices.